Good afternoon or good evening, television fans. Big Al here on this Monday, July 14th, 2025, and welcome into episode 10 of Television Station History, as today we'll be taking a look at WNJU. This is the co-flagship station of Telemundo and WXTV's biggest competitor. Before we dive in, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, and get notified every time I go live. And off we go with the history of WNJU. WNJU Channel 47 is a television station licensed to Linden, New Jersey, serving as the Telemundo outlet for the New York City area. It is one of two flagship stations of the Spanish-language Telemundo network, the other being WSCV in Miami, Fort Lauderdale. WNJU is owned and operated by NBC Universal's Telemundo Station Group, alongside NBC flagship WNBC Channel 4. WNJU's studios are located inside NBC's corporate headquarters at 30 Rockefeller Plaza in Midtown Manhattan. Its former studios, located on Fletcher Avenue in Fort Lee, New Jersey, are used now as WNJU and WNBC's New Jersey News Bureau. Through a channel sharing agreement with WNBC, the two stations transmit using WNJU spectrum from an antenna atop One World Trade Center. Alright, here are the specs on WNJU. Linden, New Jersey, New York, New York. The station broadcasts on Virtual Channel 47 and RF Digital Channel 35, which is shared with sister station WNBC. On-air brand is Telemundo Co-Flagship. We'll tell you about the sub-channels at the end of the run, so stay tuned. The station is owned by the Telemundo Station Group and licensed by NBC Telemundo License LLC. Its sister station is WNBC Channel 4, which is the East Coast flagship of NBC. WNJU signed on the air on May 16, 1965 as WNJU TV. They would remove the TV suffix from its call sign in 1988. The station previously aired on UHF Analog Channel 47 from 1965 to 2009, and their digital signal aired on UHF Channel 36 until 2019 before moving to Channel 35. There is a translator station, W62AA Channel 62, no city of license listed. The station began as an independent from its 1965 sign-on to 1987 and had a secondary affiliation with the Spanish language network NetSpan from 1984 to 1987. NetSpan would be the forerunner of today's Telemundo. Call sign meaning is New Jersey UHF. WNJU is licensed by the Federal Communications Commission, broadcasting with an effective radiated power of 575 kilowatts from its 1,627-foot transmitter at One World Trade Center, which they share with sister station WNBC. Their website is www.telemundo47.com or telemundo47.com. Conceived to replace WNTA TV as Northern New Jersey's commercial station and to provide specialty ethnic programming in the tri-state area, WNJU began broadcasting on May 16, 1965. It was the first new commercial TV station for the New York City area in 16 years. Within months, 60% of its programming was in Spanish. The station was acquired by Screen Gems in 1970. Screen Gems also owned WAPA TV in San Juan, Puerto Rico, with which Channel 47 shared programming. WNJU's program lineup, which centered to the taste of the Puerto Ricans and Dominicans in the tri-state area, often outperformed the Spanish International Network, which was seen in New York on Channel 41, and its mostly Mexican shows in the local ratings. The studio sold the station in 1979 to a consortium headlined by Norman Lear and Jerry Parenchio, but plans to convert to subscription television operation were scrapped. In 1984, WNJU became a part of a second Spanish-language television network, NetSpan. After Reliance Capital which has bought Spanish-language TV stations in Los Angeles and Miami, acquired the station. It became a charter-owned and operated station of Telemundo upon its launch on January 12, 1987, and at the same time, Channel 47 began producing local Spanish-language newscasts. NBC bought Telemundo in 2002 and relocated WNJU to its former facility in Fort Lee. History. Early years. On December 17, 1962, the New Jersey Television Broadcasting Company was granted a construction permit by the Federal Communications Commission to build a new commercial television station on Channel 47, which was at the time allocated to New Brunswick, New Jersey. Edwin Cooperstein, the president of the Permittee and director of radio and television at Fairleigh Dickinson University, and who had been the head of WNTA TV Channel 13 when it was a commercial outlet, had proposed the station a year earlier to transmit from a tower in the New Jersey Meadowlands. FDU influence was also felt in the company's ownership. It was primarily owned by Harry Beckton, the son of Maxwell Beckton, co-founder of Beckton Dickinson, and Fairleigh Dickinson Jr., the son of Fairleigh S. Dickinson Sr., founder of Fairleigh Dickinson University, and the co-founder of Beckton Dickinson on top of that. Channel 47 in Linden, New Jersey was a backup plan. The company had previously asked for the assignment of Channel 14 to Newark, the city of license of WNTA TV, arguing that the conversion of WNTA TV to non-commercial WNET officially gave all 7 VHF stations to New York City. Even before filing for the permit, New Jersey Television Broadcasting had set up in the Mosque Theater, which is now Newark Symphony Hall, at 1020 Broad Street in Newark, which was WNTA's former home, which included a 10,000 square foot studio that was at the time the largest of any non-network TV station in the country. It announced it would use the former WNTA TV transmitter site in West Orange and stocked its staff with several Channel 13 veterans. When the permit was issued, Cooperstein announced that the station would launch in late 1963. However, within a month of obtaining the permit, the new WNJU TV decided on an Empire State Building site for its transmitter, which was approved by the FCC in April 1964. Cooperstein felt that this would be necessary to have picture quality partly with the New York's, or rather, picture quality parity, with the New York stations. It has settled on a program format of shows for New Jersey audiences during the day and specialty ethnic programs at night. In March 1965, the station revealed a schedule with 19 hours a week of Spanish language programming and another 7 hours for black audiences. WNJU TV signed on the air on May 16, 1965, as the first commercial UHF station in the New York television market and the first new commercial service for the New York area in 16 years. Channel 47's schedule included New Jersey programs as well as Spanish language, Black, Jewish, and Italian programs. But even within 3 months of its launch, 60% of Channel 47's broadcast hours consisted of Spanish language output. Outside of these programs during the mid-60s, the station broadcast a live and locally produced teenage dance show called Disco Teen, hosted by John Zachary, bullfights, and a folk music program, Rainbow Quest, hosted by Pete Seeger. The station also broke ground when it accepted advertising for Puerto Rican rum, since most television stations, but not Channel 47, subscribed to the Code of Good Practice of the National Association of Broadcasters. It was the first hard liquor ad seen on American television. In 1967, WNJU TV went all color, and also became the first New York area television station to automate its transmitter. It opted not to move to the World Trade Center when it was built for financial reasons. In 1969, it added another type of specialty program to its diverse slate, daytime coverage of the stock markets. That same year, however, Cooperstein resigned, citing a basic policy difference with the board of directors. Sorry about that. Screen Gems ownership. WNJU TV was sold in the fall of 1970 for $8 million, a fairly high price for a UHF station in that time, to Screen Gems Broadcasting, a subsidiary of Columbia Pictures. Screen Gems was unusually suited for the station, as it owned WAPA TV in San Juan, Puerto Rico. In 1968, WNJU originated a program for WAPA TV, which represented the first live satellite connection from New York to San Juan. In 1975, WNJU TV received a short-term license renewal for only 1 year, instead of the then customary 3, for failure to abide by a previous pledge to limit commercials to 16 minutes per hour, which the station exceeded more than 16% of the time. The station had evolved to carry most Spanish programming, along with some ethnic brokered programs that aired on weekends, including shows in Japanese and Portuguese. Sales doubled from $2.2 million in 1976 to $4.4 million by 1978. By focusing on the large Puerto Rican community in New York, WNJU was able to beat Spanish International Network's WXTV Channel 41 with its comparably more Mexican programming in the ratings. To STV or not to STV? In 1978, Columbia Pictures applied for authority to broadcast subscription television programming on Channel 47, with the STV franchisee being National Subscription Television New York Incorporated, owned by Oak Communications and Chartwell Communications. These companies were the partners in the Los Angeles operation of On TV, which had started in that city in 1977 and became the largest such operation in the United States. A pact in November 1978 gave the New York market to Chartwell to develop. Concern was noted over the potential displacement of Spanish language programming from prime time on Channel 47, but the deal was approved. Good afternoon, Anna. How goes it? Still trying to wipe the sweat from my brow. I was just outside putting the trash out on the street and checking the mailbox. It is freaking hot out there. I think it's about 106 today. Jerry Parenchio, one of the shareholders in Chartwell, and his Tandem Productions acquired 80% of WNJU TV from Columbia Pictures in late 1979 for $5 million. Chartwell gave the idea of bringing On TV to New York serious thought. It pursued rights to the New York Yankees as a reported offer of $20 million a year and lost. It was proposed using the multi-channel audio capability of the STV system to present some programs in English and Spanish simultaneously. A technical improvement also came in 1980 when WXTV and WNJU were approved to move to the World Trade Center. The idea of turning Channel 47 into a subscription station was dropped in January 1981, when competition from Wametco Home Theater, which had operated in the tri-state area since 1977, extensive cable penetration, and the station's existing ratings leadership over WXTV for Spanish-speaking audiences cited among the reasons for terminating the plans. Channel 47 continued to be Spanish language, though other suitors made unsolicited offers, some of which would have ended that status. In 1985, Grant Broadcasting System made a $65 million offer for the station, which was rejected as far too low. Netspan and Telemundo. In 1970, Carlos Barba, a former Cuban TV star who had been WAPA-TV's general manager, became the GM of WNJU. He was promoted to president in 1980. In 1984, Barba led the creation of Netspan, a second Spanish-language network to compete with the Spanish International Network. Netspan's founding affiliates were WNJU, ethnic independent KSCI-TV Channel 18 for the Los Angeles market, and Chicago's WBBS-TV. That same year, Channel 47 relocated from Newark to a new one-story building in Teterboro, and Barba hired a 22-year-old Nelly Galan to be the station manager. On TV folded in 1985, and on the way out, it made two major contributions to the launch of a second Spanish-language television network by selling Los Angeles area KBSC-TV to Estrella Communications, a Reliance Capital-backed group that converted it to Spanish as KVEA, and Fort Lauderdale station WKID to John Blair and Company, which relaunched it as Spanish language WSCV. By 1986, KVEA had replaced KSCI, and WCIU-TV had entered in Chicago. The network offered 3 hours a day of programming plus specials. Reliance Capital Group, which also was in the process of buying WSCV, reached a deal to acquire WNJU-TV for $70 million in October 1986. 2 higher offers have been made by groups that would have converted Channel 47 to English language operation, both of which were shunned. Oh, my doctor's appointment was great. My A1C is better, and we're cutting down on some of my medications. So all in all, it was pretty good. With WNJU and WSCV now Reliance owned, on January 12, 1987, Netspan became Telemundo, supplying additional programming and national news programming. The station continued to air weekend programs in other languages into the 1990s, including Indian, Greek, Haitian, and Pakistani programs. During the 90s and early 2000s, the station experimented with Spanish-language sports simulcasts, which included games of the Yankees, New York Knicks, and New York City Hawks. However, local ratings fell as New York viewing habits fell more in line with national ones, and Univision came to dominate in national and local programming. Alright, this is an arena football team, the New York City Hawks, which now operate as the Toronto Phantoms, if you're wondering who the City Hawks were. In October 2001, NBC, then owned by General Electric, announced its acquisition of Telemundo and WNJU, creating a duopoly with WNBC. NBC would assume control in April 2002, and the purchase led to a major overhaul of the on-air product at the network and the station. In 2004, WNJU relocated from Teterboro to the 6th floor of 2200 Fletcher Avenue in Fort Lee, occupying the former studios and offices of the NBC-controlled CNBC cable network, which had moved to a state-of-the-art new studio complex in Englewood Cliffs. The space was more than twice the size of the Teterboro facility. After the September 11th attacks of 2001, WNJU was one of several stations that moved to the Alpine Tower provisionally. There was no space for a digital facility at the Empire State Building, so a permanent site in West Orange was used along with a secondary transmitter at 4 Times Square to improve signal levels in Queens and on Long Island. However, Channel 47's analog facility returned to the Empire State Building. On May 17, 2017, WNJU announced it would begin over-the-air nighttime transmission testing from One World Trade Center in the 4th week of May 2017, which they expected to commence 7 to 10 days later. By the end of the year, WNJU and 4 other New York City area television stations began broadcasting from the new tower, which also inaugurated a channel sharing agreement between WNBC and WNJU for reasons mentioned further below. So we will talk about that real soon. On January 14, 2022, WNJU announced that it would move its studios into NBC's headquarters at 30 Rockefeller Plaza in Midtown Manhattan in late 2023, sharing the 2nd floor space with WNBC. New York City was the last NBC Telemundo duopoly market where the two network stations maintained separate facilities. In August 2022, NBC Universal indicated that it would split Studio 3B, the former home of NBC Nightly News and The Today Show, between channels 47 and 4. On May 31st, 2025, beginning with the night's 6 p.m. newscast, WNJU started broadcasting from their news studios at 30 Rock, and WNJU's former studios remain in use as WNJU and sister station WNBC's New Jersey News Bureau. Perfect segue into the station's news operation. WNJU launched its news operation in the mid-1980s, with 6 p.m. newscasts anchored by Jorge L. Ramos. An 11 p.m. edition would follow in 1996. In 1997, it would launch a weekend edition of Noticiero 47, a morning newscast entitled Noticiero 47, Primera Edición, would follow in 2001. However, due to company-wide cutbacks, WNJU would pull the plug on its morning, midday, and weekend newscasts in 2009. Weekend newscasts would be restored in 2011, along with the launch of a new public affairs show, Enfoque New York, or New York in Focus. In November 2012, a new morning newscast was introduced called Buenos Dias Nueva York. On September 18, 2014, Telemundo announced a new 5:30 or 4:30 newscast for all 14 of its owned and operated stations, including WNJU. In 2018, a noon newscast was added at 10 Telemundo stations, including WNJU. Okay. Notable current on-air staff includes Andres Rijo. She can be seen on Exeo Total. Notable former on-air staff include John F. Bateman, the host of Rutgers Football Highlights. Brooke Benton, who was the host of his own talk show, The Brooke Benton Show. Buck Cannell, anchor, Spanish News and Sports. Meyer Feldman, host of Jewish Issues. Hal Jackson, host of World of Entertainment. Helen Miner Program. Jorge L. Ramos, anchor. Jackie Robinson, host of A Time to Talk. Martha Silva, host of Una Hora Contigo, or An Hour with You. Billy Taylor, host of Jazz in America. Richard Voliva, host of High School Wrestling. And Zachary, host of Disco Team. Technical information, subchannels. Alright, so both the spectrum of WNJU and WNBC are on RF Digital Channel 35, and here's what they offer. As far as WNJU, broadcasting in 1080i resolution HD on channel 47.1 is main Telemundo programming, and on 47.2, broadcasting at 480i resolution HD, is Telemundo's sister network, Teleexitos. And then you have WNBC's spectrum, with 4.1 being NBC in 1080i HD, Cozy TV on 4.2, NBC American Crimes on 4.3, and and Oxygen True Crime on 4.4. Those three stations broadcast at 480i HD, and every channel has a 16:9 aspect ratio. Analog to digital transition, or conversion rather. WNJU discontinued regular programming on its analog signal over UHF Channel 47 on June 12, 2009, as part of the federally mandated transition from analog to digital television. The station's digital signal would remain on its pre-transition UHF Channel 36. On April 13, 2017, it was revealed that the over-the-air spectrum of sister station WNBC had been sold in the FCC's spectrum reallocation auction, fetching $214 million. WNBC will remain in operation, sharing broadcast spectrum with WNJU. The shared broadcast took effect on April 2, 2018, and WNJU and WNBC later changed channels again to its present digital channel 35 on August 1st, 2019. And that is a look at WNJU's history, which started as a Spanish/ethnic station, now the co-flagship of Telemundo. Next time here on episode 11, we'll be taking a look at the NJPBS television network. Now these are the 4 PBS stations in the state of New Jersey. So we will be taking a look at NJPBS in our next installment of TV television history. Oh, this talks about the history of WNJU, which is a Spanish language television station in New York. Well, thanks for the question, Brody. Okay, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you next time for episode number 11 of TV Station History. Peace out. Don't want to cover my lens. Don't want to cover my lens.